I am now pleased to welcome our guest speaker for the evening, Wendy Hammers. For 40 years, our keynote speaker has had the privilege of working on stage and on screen. As a comic, she has toured the country, playing clubs and colleges in 42 states, and tonight in Des Moines, Iowa, makes 43. And then when she turned 54, she was handed the most challenging part of her life, the role of a pancreatic cancer patient. On this auspicious night, which just happens to be National Pancreatic Cancer Awareness Day, she is delighted and honored to be able to share her story, I Broke Up with Cancer, with you. So please give a huge above and beyond welcome to Wendy Hammers.
Hi, my name is Wendy Hammers and I am a pancreatic cancer survivor. Thank you. I got a do-over on my life. Very grateful. That was a lovely welcome you just gave me with applause. I'm so grateful. I have fallen in love with, this is my first time in Iowa, as you said, and I have to go home now and tell my husband we're moving here, so see how that goes. But this is just a delight, and the applause is much appreciated because I have to tell you, sometimes when I tell people that I am a pancreatic cancer survivor, they do not applaud. They just look at me like they're going to die. And then they say things like, pancreatic? Huh, isn't that the one that's supposed to kill you? To be fair, they do not say this to be rude. They say it because they don't know what else to say, because cancer scares people and they lose their minds a little, right? That's why we're talking about it. That's why we're talking about it here tonight, so people don't have to be as scared. Now, I have entitled this talk, I Broke Up with Cancer. And although I am above and beyond grateful to be alive and well, I want to tell you that I'm not sorry that I was diagnosed, because cancer has turned out to be the most magnificent teacher and a master class in self-love. Now, a sober friend of mine in Alcoholics Anonymous, why do some of you look so shocked that I know sober people? I do, I know 4, no. I know lots of them. And one of my friends who's sober in AA told me that after you stop drinking for 90 days, they ask you to come to the meeting and they ask you to tell your story and say what it was like when you were drinking, what happened, and what it's like now. And I figured that this would be the perfect formula to tell you how I broke up with cancer. Okay, sound good? All right, so first, my life before. I grew up in a place called Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Yeah, you know it? No cherries, no hills. Just a lot of guys named Vinny with blow-dried chest hairs, okay? Malls, diners, discos, you get the idea, right? Like an episode of The Sopranos. It was like I was living in that. Oh, and food. In my family, the conversation was always about food. Like it didn't stop. Now, at the time, I was the shortest, skinniest, most flat-chested girl in my class. In fact, my nickname in middle school was Skeeters because my breasts were the size of mosquito bites. I show you right up here, article A and double A. And then puberty happened, okay? And just like that overnight, it was like my body exploded. And everything changed. I remember very distinctly lying on the floor of a giant dressing room at the Loehmann's department store, trying to squeeze into a pair of jeans while my mother urged me to, oh, sweetie, hurry up. We're meeting Dad at the all-you-can-eat buffet. So everything was about food and eating and body at all times. This was the same summer that Coach Thompson told me that I needed to lose 10 pounds to join the gymnastics team. And the crazy thing was I wasn't even overweight, just a little baby fat, but my dad was, and I think that my parents thought that his fat might be contagious. So when I was 16, my parents sent me to Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers, can I help yous? Directions? Sure. We're located right next to the Pancake House. Yeah, down from Burger King, across from Arby's. When you hit Bob's Big Boy, you've gone too far. See you tonight. And then after that, I did all the things that we all do, right? High school, college, falling in and out of love, starting a career, falling deeply in love, getting married, having a baby, trying to make my career go, financial challenges, stress, divorce, and then eventually raising my son, and then falling deeply in love with the love of my life. But through all of that, I'm almost embarrassed to tell you this. The most singularly challenging thing in my entire life was my struggle with this thing. How does one live comfortably and peacefully and harmoniously in a thing called a body? And I had been struggling with this my entire life. And I continued to do it for decades and decades, trying desperately, so angry at my own body, and trying desperately to lose the same 30 pounds over and over again. Until the day that everything changed. December 14th, 2014. My weight's up, my esteem's down, my pants are stretched out, and I am tired of being chubby. I push myself back from the holiday table, and I commit to losing weight. So I go back to Weight Watchers like I had when I was a kid, and I join up, and I commit, and I go every week for 6 months. I never miss a meeting, and then in June of that year, I reach my goal weight. I am thin for a minute. And so I do what every good emotional eater does. I celebrate with fudge brownies. The next day I go back to my Weight Watchers meeting, and I've lost 3 more pounds. Oh, your scale is broken, I tell the man behind the counter with the plastic name tag. He assures me it is not. It turns out I am broken, but I do not know that yet. What happens next is really like a dream come true for me, something I had wanted my entire life. Now, you've just heard my story, so this is what it is. I can't stop losing weight. I can't. It doesn't matter what I put in my mouth. Everything goes out the other end. And this would be like the greatest thing in the world, except for one tiny little, not so little detail. I begin to have excruciating pains in this part of my body. I tell my husband, I think I had bad sushi. And he says, yeah, I don't think you lie on the floor writhing in pain for a week from a tuna roll. Would you please, and he actually said please, like 2 syllables, please go to the doctor. And then I did the craziest thing, a thing that most wives don't do. I actually listened to my husband. So 2 days later, I get a scan in the morning, and then I jump on a plane for a gig, a stand-up gig in Seattle in the afternoon. As I roll my luggage past that baggage claim at the SeaTac airport, I check my messages. Would you come in Monday for more tests? My eyes get blurry. This can't be right. I begin to shake my phone like it's an Etch-a-Sketch, and I think if I shake it hard enough, maybe when I stop, the message will disappear magically. I check it again. The message still reads, there is a moment, alone, in an unfamiliar airport, where I am totally lost. Suddenly, the airport starts to spin. My luggage brings me around in a circle. My luggage is in charge. I am spinning. My life is spinning. This can't be right. I can't be sick. I don't want to die. 2 days later, I go see a gastroenterologist. A week earlier, I didn't even know what that word meant, and now I have one. Dr. Mark Wishengrad, you have a growth on your pancreas. That's impossible. I don't even know where my pancreas is. But the cancer knew, and I had it. Cancer. You know, the thing that other people get. So, I decide that I'm going to do the thing that you should never do. Never do, and it's what everybody does. What do you think it is? The moment I'm diagnosed. What do you think? Google, exactly. So I Google pancreatic cancer, and I come to discover that it is most prevalent in African American men over 65 who smoke and drink, which, you know. I don't smoke. I don't drink. No family history. Exercise, eat healthy, more veggies than fries, good attitude. And yet, despite all of this, it's official. I have stage 1B, which is just a polite way of saying stage 2, pancreatic cancer. And so my 11-month journey with cancer begins. I am fortunate to find my way to a cancer coach. Yes, that's a thing. Remember, I live in California. Although you're pretty hip here at this Above and Beyond Cancer, so I think you get it. This woman's name was Marissa Harris. Marissa is a kick-ass woman who had 8 doctors at Sloan Kettering in New York say to her, she was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And they said, I am so sorry to tell you this, but there's nothing we can do for you. You must go home and get your affairs in order. To which she replied, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but I cannot die because someday I must dance at my daughter's wedding. That was 25 years ago. And she's thriving, and she has this cancer coaching practice. So I go and see her, and the first conversation we ever have, she says 2 game-changing things to me. Number 1, I said, I have cancer. She said, well, do you have elbow cancer? I said, no. She said, do you have earlobe cancer? I said, no. She went on and on and on. She said, Wendy, most of you is healthy. We just have this little one part that we have to fix. And then she said something else I will never forget. You must love your doctors and they must love you. You know this in this community for sure. It's a team, right? You got to work with them. Now, people always ask me, but tell me really honestly, what did you do to get rid of pancreatic cancer? How did you do it? And so my standard answer is I did all of the things Western and Eastern that made sense. For the Western traditional, I did 12 rounds of chemo with a drug called Fulferinox, which the doctors affectionately refer to as FU. And I had a surgery, it's called a Whipple procedure, where they opened my body up, right, took out my pancreas, cut off the funky part, and then I'm not sure this is the correct medical term because I'm not a doctor, although I have played one on TV. I think they dry cleaned the pancreas, I'm not sure. And then they put it back in and, put me back together. I was afraid that I was, first of all, I had my surgery, my treatment at the Ronald Reagan Medical Center at UCLA, and I was afraid that they weren't going to let me in because I'm a Democrat. But they said, as long as you have a copay, you're good. Let's see, what else did I do? Oh, I had this thing called take-home chemo. Don't be jealous, it's not as sexy as it sounds. Okay, here's how this works. After 8 hours in the chair, by the way, 8 hours in the chair, yeah, and then I took I would take this little pack, it was like a fanny pack that you'd wear that would continue to slow drip the medicine into your body. So I would have that, and would be pouring the medicine in my body, and it's going to sound like I'm exaggerating for a joke, but I'm not. This is the sound that the machine I had to wear on my body made. I'm not exaggerating. Here it is. Exactly. It was like, I don't know, it was like I would put it in the bed between my husband and I, and it would make that noise. It was like we were having a menage with an asthmatic. And I mean, we talked about having a 3-way, but this was not what we had in mind. Thank you, Iowa, for laughing at that joke. And we also had this thing, how do you explain this? So my treatment was at a medical center, but I didn't like that term, so I changed it to chemo lounge because I thought it sounded swankier. So our chemo lounge was on the 5th floor, and we could see the ocean from where we were. So here's the thing. If you're going to get chemo, try to go first class, like get the good seat, right? So here I am. I'm looking out at the horizon, the shoreline, and the FU is starting to come into my body. And I'm looking, and I'm staring at the water, and I'm thinking, someday, when this is all behind me, I will be frolicking and jumping up and down and giggling and laughing in the water. And that's what I thought. And then the medicine would come in and then I would pass out. But it worked. It worked. It was a great to have this, like, what it's going to look like after cancer idea. So, as for the Eastern, non-traditional parts of the treatment, I did a lot of things, a lot of woo-woo things, but the main thing was the mindset. We've heard a lot about that tonight already, right? The idea that I was going to get through this and it wasn't going to go on forever. I had to keep reminding myself that my diagnosis was a temporary circumstance that didn't define me. I mean, I had cancer, sure, but I was not cancer. And I made sure to do the things that made my heart sing every day. So I would dance at chemo. Somewhere we have a video of that. Oh, that's me. Here we go. Here it is. So this is in the chemo lounge.
Come on. Do it. Send this to Gordon. After his friends. Hey, stop. Wait a minute. This is Bart's favorite line. Julio, get the stretch.
I remember doing this.
Come on. Now we're going to shake our little white girl asses.
By the way, do you notice that my hair and my skin are the same color? Not a good look. When you decide to have gray hair, you don't really want your skin to match. But anyhow, I was so busy imagining my bigger, juicier life, right, above and beyond cancer, that I didn't feel scared. People don't always believe me when I say this, so let me try to say it another way. My focus was on what cancer was here to teach me and how wonderful my life would be post-cancer. I did not have the physical, emotional, psychological, or spiritual bandwidth to consider living and dying. So I just picked living. I was committed to that. And that's why cancer and I had to break up. I mean, we just wanted different things. We were not a good fit. Like, for example, cancer wanted to kill me, and I wanted to live, really live, so right there we were not a good match. Like some sort of dating app screw up. And I wanted to throw parties, the cancer wanted to throw up. You get the idea, right? It wanted me to be a homebody, and I wanted to see the world. So clearly we were on two different paths, and I didn't really see a future for us together. So I decided I was going to write a breakup letter to cancer. And I said, "Dear Cancer, we have been together for nearly a year, but it's time to say goodbye. It's not you, it's me. I just don't feel that spark anymore. I mean, you've taught me a lot, and I am so grateful. I know I will never forget you. But here's the thing. I'm just not that into you, Cancer. And honestly, neither is anybody else. You really aren't the relationship type, and I don't think you should try to see any other people. Your ex, Wendy." So, after nearly a year of dating, flirting, courting, writing letters with journaling, and getting into bed with cancer, on Thursday, May 12th, 2016, my oncologist tells me this: "Your findings here, Wendy, on the scan are unremarkable." That means that there's literally nothing to remark on the scan. Unremarkable. I know. Who knew this would be the nicest thing anyone ever said to me? So today I'm cancer-free, one day at a time. I don't have it anymore. And that puts me in the 11th percentile. Now, I'm no math major, but that means that 89% of people who have what I had do not see 5 years. But then someone wisely recommended or reminded me that somebody has got to be on the bottom of the bell curve. The bell curve, if you're not familiar, is a graphical representation of outcomes. And there's always someone who's at the bottom of the bell curve. There is always somebody who defies the odds. And I just had to decide it would be me. And I want to ask everybody in this room, whether you have cancer or a loved one has cancer, are you willing to even consider the possibility that you could be that one, or that they could be that one, because somebody has to be? Can you even allow yourself to think that you could be one of the blessed and the lucky? Now, how can assuming a stance of wellness hurt you? I mean, I don't think it can. I think it can only help you. So that's, you know, maybe it sounds a little optimistic, and I am a lifelong optimist, but that's what I've learned. I really do believe that my attitude is a big part of the reason that I'm standing here now tonight in front of you, breathing in and out. So this brings us to my favorite part of the show, the alive and well portion of the evening, the thriving part of surviving. As in, now that you've been blessed with a life, how would you like to live it? Or as my friend Megan Barnhart says, how would you feel if you allowed yourself to want what you truly want? Now, at the beginning of this talk, I mentioned the Alcoholics Anonymous model of what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And post-cancer, this is how I think of it. Tell me if you relate to this. The first is what I would call the grand chaos. So in the grand chaos, my life maybe looked normal to people from the outside, but from the inside, it didn't feel good. It felt like I was trying to balance too many things. I was stressed out. I was overcommitted. I never put myself first. I overtired myself. I had no boundaries. All this stress going on inside, right? And then this thing happened that I'd like to call the grand pause. And that was cancer. And that was a year of my life where I had no other choice but to stop and reevaluate everything in my life and say, how was I going to move forward from here? And finally, we have what I would call the dessert, is the grand purpose, right? It's the big question. Why are we here? What is our higher purpose? I believe in my case, a big part of it is to come here and share what I've learned and help others. So I've made a list of 10 things, and I'll just do this really quickly, but I want you to hear these 10 things that occurred to me during the great pause. And for the record, every person in this room, cancer or not, has had a great pause. It's called the pandemic, okay? Our whole life stopped, and we had to look in a new way. So the first one on the list is called the worth it rule. Now, in my opinion in life, everything can come right down to this, worth it or not worth it. So when it comes to worth it rule, I think when it comes to bread, men, and chocolate, there's two kinds, worth it and not worth it, right? You know what I'm talking about? And then the next thing would be called the closer, further principle. And what this is every single conversation, interaction, thing I take into my heart, my mind, and my body, and for you too, every single thing that we do brings us closer to our recovery and vibrancy, or further from it. And it's my job as the steward of this thing called my body to be responsible for making choices that move me closer to that. And the third thing on the list is, I call this the hourglass rule. My curvy body, I love this curvy body. Now, I have been fortunate enough to survive cancer, and since I did that, I can't believe that I ever had 1 minute where I was unkind to this body, because this body kicked ass and kept me alive. Let me ask you this, and this is for everybody, but I think the women can particularly relate. If you knew that it was the last day of your life, would you spend it worrying whether or not your stomach was flat? Probably not, right? And we never really do know when the last day is. She's saying maybe, I'm not sure. Over here. No, but you think about it, right? The things, how much time and energy we put in things like that, and then when you realize, but you're alive, what a blessing. So, cancer taught me that my body is a genius and serves a standing ovation for keeping me alive. And then when I started dating my sweet husband, who is he's a car fanatic, he's in the classic car business, I said to him, like on our third date, I said, so if I was a car, what would I be? And he didn't even hesitate. He knew the answer immediately. He said, oh, that's easy. You would be an Alfa Romeo Sprint Especial. And I was like, that sounds cool. What's that mean? Why that? He said, well, it's a sports car. I said, but why that car? He said, because that car has no straight lines anywhere. It's a good answer. Self-love rules. Tell me if you relate to this. I have been starving for self-love around my body my whole life. And I'd like to think that the chemo, when it killed off cancer, took a little of the self-loathing with it. Now, I'm not perfect at this, but I am no longer willing to let my self-esteem, I'm no longer willing to weigh my self-esteem on the bathroom scale. I did that for a long time. And I'm deeply committed to loving and living fully in the body that I have right now, not 40 or 30 or 10 pounds or even 3 pounds from now. And not when somebody else tells me I'm lovable, but now. Which brings me to why I love aging. I know this makes me a unicorn in Los Angeles, a woman who's been in Hollywood for 40 years, who actually likes getting older. Okay, first of all, for all the obvious reasons that we hear here in this community, it certainly beats the alternative. That's for sure. But I realize I'm unique in this way, unusual, and I know that not everybody feels comfortable saying their age. So if you're going to lie about your age, I suggest you lie up, okay? I'll give you an example. I am 62, almost 63, and people say you look pretty good. But if I told you I was 82, it's so much more impressive, I think. One of the blessings of aging, and I know we have some gorgeous 70 and 80 or 90-year-olds in this room, so maybe they can back me up on this. But one of the blessings is most of the time when it comes to getting older, I don't really care what people think anymore. And the other half of the time, I can't remember. So. Now, the next one is, what are we really afraid of? It is my belief that as a culture, we are afraid of aging because it reminds us of dying, and we are afraid of dying because sometimes it reminds us that we're not fully living. And in this country, we're obsessed with youth, and we're obsessed with bodies. And I mean, what do we have now? We have fake everything. We have something called ass implants. Really? Ass implants? Really? I mean, this right here, this is real. I just want to say that. I like to think of myself as the Jewish J-Lo. I am Julo, okay? Beyonce. One more. Shakira. So, and then hair, of course, hair. Let's talk about this for a minute. You see this craziness going on up here? So, when I was 29 years old, I got my first gray hair. And I colored it for 25 years. I could have bought 2 really good houses south of Grand with what I spent on my head. Maybe even 3, okay? When I was in my 20s, no big deal. I would get a gray hair, and so I'd color my hair in my 20s every 10 weeks, in my 30s every 8 weeks, in my 40s every 6 weeks, in my 50s every 3 weeks. And then one day, in my early 50s, I drove out of the salon where I just left like a big pile of money in the salon. And as I drove out, one of my hairs, silver hairs, went, ah! Like it really wanted to get older, and I wasn't listening to it. So finally I just said, this is me, this is what I'm going to do. And now I have, as you see here, 50 shades of gray hair. Silver is the new black. And by the way, thank you. Look, here's the craziest thing. By the way, I'm accidentally hip. I don't know what happened there. I have millennials running up to me all the time like, oh my God. And I don't know why they have to sound like that, but in this routine they do. Oh my God, how did you get your hair like that? I was like, well, I don't know, divorce, teenager, you too can have gray hair. I earned every one of these babies, okay? Community recovery, this is really key, and I feel like here I'm preaching to the choir a little bit because what I've seen here in the 24 hours I've been here has been mind-blowing. I cannot believe what you've created here. I'm not saying this to kiss your ass. We have nothing like this in Los Angeles. It's really impressive what you're doing, so props to you. Unbelievable, really unbelievable. I gotta go back and tell everybody to get their act together. It's very impressive. All right, support community. We know a support community is key, right? And I was blessed with a Grand Canyon-sized support team. Friends, family. I mean, I had it all. I had rabbis in California. I had nuns in New Jersey. I had atheists everywhere. And if you can get the atheists to pray for you, you're doing something right, okay? And then, of course, my primary caregiver, my darling, sweet husband, Garth, who was extraordinary, who found love later in life and thought as soon as I got cancer that he was going to lose what he finally found, and he was terrified. And I have to say, I know what we go through as cancer patients is no day at the beach. But in some ways, I think it's harder for the caregivers because you don't really know what's going on with us. You have to take our word for it. And God knows people have been lying to their husbands and wives for years, so why would this be any different? So I would tell him, you know, I feel good, and he'd have to trust me. And I remember he went to the grocery store one day. I was during chemo, and I couldn't go, so he went to the grocery store, and he looked around the grocery store, and everything looked normal, and it freaked him out. Because when you have a loved one who's going through this, you feel like the world should stop, right? So he looked over at the butter, and he got so mad at the butter. Because he said, look at the audacity of the butter just sitting there being butter when my wife might be dying. And so I'm sure that this is what we go through, trying to make sense out of all of this, right? But if you don't have a spouse, if you don't have a partner, don't worry. There is a community clearly in this room. You can call me. Reach out to me, wendyhammers.com. I'd love to talk to you. I talk to people every week of my life all over this country and all over the world about this. And every time people call, they say, gosh, would you mind if I asked? And I always get emotional because I feel like I'm so thrilled that I have something to share. And if it could help somebody, why not, right? So a couple more things I want to share with you. Why I got cancer. Let's talk about that. Okay, you want to put that one up? I used to think that I was healthy, really healthy, until I got cancer. And now I see that I got cancer so I could get really healthy. And finally, I only have today. My life today is the best it has ever been. I have today and no guarantee of tomorrow. But I really have this moment, and I'm good with that. So, my invitation to all of you is to consider the notion that the seemingly worst thing that ever happened to you in your life might be the very thing that actually transforms your life and sets you free in extraordinary ways that you never dreamed possible. It's all about turning pain into purpose. Now, realizing that I could have lost my life has made me committed to not wasting a day or a moment of it. We are all, every single person in this room, young and old, black and white, female and male, trans, non-binary, whoever is in this room, every single one of us is so freaking lucky to be alive. And I would like you to take a moment to just acknowledge that. I am from the West Coast, so I have been licensed by the state of California to make you do something a little woo-woo, so forgive me. So just turn to somebody. If you know them, great. If you don't, even better. Just turn to somebody and just look at them and don't miss this moment together. Just look into somebody's eyes at your table and just connect with them and just notice that they're alive, that they're breathing in and out, that they maybe have a little something on their face that you have to wipe off, all right? Great. All right. So, you notice how alive they are? You see them? Good. So, these days, I travel the country talking to people like I'm doing right here. I know I'm a blessed woman. I know I hit the life lottery, and I don't take a day for granted. I have noticed that when people have cancer, they pray to get their life back. Everyone is praying when they get cancer, even the atheists, everybody. But me, I did not want my old life back. I wanted a better one. And that is what I envision for each of you. A final word on cancer. If you can opt out or unsubscribe, do that. I didn't have that option, and you probably won't either. So whatever you do, let cancer be your teacher and do not miss the lessons. The French have an expression, raison d'être, which literally means the reason for being. I now believe that my raison d'être is so I could share my story. And if I've helped even one person tonight, then my journey was worth it. Thanks for listening.
This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned on. Starting right now, I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me. Losing too deep. And it's been 2 years, I miss my home, but there's a fire burning in my bones. Still believe.
Thank you.
Yeah, I
Thank you
still
so much. You are
believe.
delightful. Thank
And
you.
all those things I didn't say, wrecking balls inside my brain. I will scream, I'm loud
All right, I
tonight.
believe
Can you
you
hear my voice this time? This is my fight song. Take back my life song. Prove I'm alright song. My power's turned off. I'll be strong. I'll play my fight song. And I don't really care if nobody else believes. 'Cause I've still got a lot of fight left in me.
But it's not empty.
A lot of fight left in me. Like a small
Another
boat
hand for her for doing that.
on the ocean, sending big
And
waves
when I say on the count of 3,
into motion.
in the box, and then the person
Like how a
who wins
single
the prize
word
gets to jump up and down the
can
slide.
make a heart open.
Right? And what we're going to be watching for.
I
Okay.
might only
Are you ready?
have one
Everybody got the boxes out?
match,
Ready? Here we go. Drum roll, please. Yes.
but I can make an explosion.
1, 2, 3. Open the boxes. Where's our winner? Let's find them. Jump up and down like a person who is very happy. Oh, they're giving the jewelry to me. Do we have a winner? No winner? What? What, you are the winner? Woo! Woo! Jump up and down. Jump up and down. That's Iowa's version of acting like a wild, crazy person. She went like this. She went. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm turning the show back over. Thank you.